Okay, so today what we have is the Patriot Gauntlet 2. So I picked this up recently at a big box store. Well, I wouldn't call it big box, but it's big box to me. It's Fry's Electronics. They had a pretty decent sale on it. I don't remember exactly how much. I think it was like ridiculously inexpensive. I think under $10 or something. But mostly because it's a USB 3 enclosure, but it's a SATA 2, so it doesn't go SATA 3, so you won't get the 6 gigabits per second. But for me, this is the reason I get this is that I'm replacing this Coolmax here, and I'll kind of do a little comparison to it here in a bit, but let me just unbox this and kind of show you. So I have these two drives here, SSD and a standard mechanical laptop drive, and I'm going to just really quickly go through and show you how to install it and how to add the drive. So what I'm going to do is I'll post some of the specs, but there's not really a whole lot to it. It's an external drive, but let me get this out, and this is gonna hopefully it doesn't make too much of a racket. Okay, whoa. So all right, let me move the box and various bits that I don't need right now out of the way. Well, let's go through the literature they provide. So box is empty. We have the fold out, tells you about the screws. So what I like about this design is, let me see if I can move this out of the way. And that is, this has screws on this side and on this side, and that's what keeps this from sliding in and out. And you have the 4 mounted screws down there to essentially anchor the drive to this. So very nice. I enjoy that really well, and it looks like you probably won't be able to insert it in backwards. Let me try see if I can. No, there's these little green tabs here that prevent me from forcing it in incorrectly. So well thought out. Very much appreciate that. And obviously the screws will only line in way, so essentially this drive caddy's keyed, so you can't put it in incorrectly. USB 3 connector, status LED, accessing the drive, and ventilation holes, so not so much an issue with the mechanical drive. So SSD, not really an issue, but let me show you with what I'm replacing it. So this was a Coolmax I've had for a while. One of the reasons I got it, it was really nice, but this was before I actually had access, funding-wise, to SSDs, so I had mechanical drives. The downside with this is if I show it, the one nice thing is that it has like a little carry and caddy, and you could put in the drive and everything. It just kind of fits in. It's really cool. So I'm going to hang on to the carrying case because I actually really enjoy it. But the problem with this one is when I open it, the drive just hangs there. And whether you can, I don't know if you can tell or not, but this whole thing is just a big aluminum case, so I was never very comfortable with this sitting inside of it. Intentionally what I would do is I would set it in here as so, and then this would connect up, and it worked very well, but I was never 100% comfortable with it essentially being exposed like that to a metal case. So never had an issue with it, but then again, I never would use it while it was in operation. I would always sit it on a desk and then use the drive. I never would use it, as a passenger in a car or anything. Once I started using SSDs with it, there wasn't an issue, but I was always concerned with mechanical drives. So with that in mind, USB 3 cable, little register your Patriot product. So let's go first old tech and then new tech. So what I mean by that is let's do the mechanical drive. I will slide it in. With the mechanical drives, there will be some limitation in terms of thickness, and hopefully this isn't an issue. So this will just kind of at an angle and then push it down, sort of similar to how you install RAM. I will have a video on how I have RAM set up in one of my systems at one point, but I may or may not do the installation of it, but there's several people who do that, so So it looks like here there are 3 black screws, and from the size of them, it looks like you have an extra spare for these side screws to hold the case together. You have also a spare, so I like this in terms of just in case you misplace things. So let's do this quickly so as not to take up too much time. I'm actually going to put 2 of these in. I'm not going to secure it because I'm just going to switch this out here. So go to this corner. And this is the provided screwdriver with it. Actually, I should do that. It's not really a review if I'm using one of my own different tools, or a separate tool I have myself, but the advantage to that one is it has that little swivel or pivot point at the end, which this just has a ball, which works reasonably well. So let's put it in correctly. So as I mentioned earlier, if you try to put it in like this, this is keyed, so it won't let you go in, so it won't let you insert it that way. Slide it in, and whoa. So that's why they give you more than at least 1 extra, because if you're like me and you fumble it around, you may actually lose one. But let's knock on wood. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot the mic's attached to my table. I don't want that to transmit through it. So even with 1 screw, it's reasonably decent. I love, especially with this being the mechanical drive, these ventilation. So perfect. Now let's quickly remove this, and the SSD is just going to be extremely quick. It's not, the installation will be essentially the same thing. Oops. Try not to make too much sound travel through the microphone. I've kind of done my best to do this setup, but there's still issues with it because this also doubles as my desk, which is why I very rarely show too much of it, because there's just not much of it. So here, what I'm going to do with this is just with my hand kind of hold it, brace this, and then slowly pull this out, because I don't want to just yank this back, because I'll just snap that end right off the board, and then I'll just wiggle it out. Come on. There we go. See, because this has a little bit of flex, but you don't want to do this, because you will, worst case you snap this. No, in worst case you snap these connectors and the drive's toast. In the best case you just snap this and then you have to replace that. So put that down. Same with the SSD, kind of bit of an angle. Just give it a gentle push. And come on. You know you want to go in there. Make sure. Just don't want to be forcing things. There we go. So now it's in. And yep, there goes that screw. That's why we have extras. Then this corner. Locate the missing one. This corner. Excuse me. And slide the case back in. Anchor down one of the corners. Without dropping the case on the desk. Ooh. I guess it's magnetic. Sorry about that. Didn't really see it before. I don't think I magnetized it. So hopefully I didn't. Let's assume it came magnetized. And done. Now, with our USB 3 connector, we connect it, format it, use it as such. So that's pretty much a quick rundown and review. I'm assuming there doesn't seem to be, looking at the box here, the specs to see if there's a limitation for drive capacity size. So it looks like, oh, it says it supports up to 9.5 millimeter drives in thickness. So like I mentioned, I'm going to put I'll post the specs of it along with the review and maybe some additional notes, but that'll pretty much do it for this one. Thanks for watching.